Go piss. It's a card game, isn't it? It's a card game I invented with some of my mates. There was one guy, one trucker who was with us, who we called Rusty Nuts. Right. His real name was Russ, but because he kept his truck in such poor fucking condition, everyone just called him Rusty. And then after that we found out that he had ginger pubes, so then we called him Rusty Nuts, and that was his name. But he was, you know, I like a drink as much as the next man, but he took it too far. All the time, like just beyond the point of where it stops being fun. I think you know, like maybe you all know someone like that. It gets to the point of the night where you sat on the side of a road, police are called, and you sat on the side of the road with a kind of a blanket around you, answering questions. You know it's probably gone a little bit past the point of where the fun was being had. And that's just what Rusty Nuts was like. You know, it's fair enough when you're young. You can afford to be reckless. The man was in his 50s. You know what I mean? Just absolute fucking joke. But anyway, a few years back, we were all hanging out at one of our, it was Rusty's house actually. We were hanging out at Rusty's house. Such a weird man. He answered the door in a fucking kimono, load of fucking samurai swords on the wall, nunchucks, ninja stars. Like, me and the other lads were looking at each other like, I do not trust having a few drinks with this man with all of this shit in the same room. But you know, you have a few drinks and you forget, don't you? You just kind of throw caution to the wind. So sure enough, we were having a few drinks and we were having a bloody good time. Then somebody's like, look, why don't we play a game of cards? So yeah, it's not a bad idea. Like, right, what do we want to play? One person suggested solitaire. There's like fucking 6 of us there. So he got laughed at. Another one was like, well, poker, that makes sense, doesn't it? Play a game of poker. Everyone's like, yeah, that sounds good to me. But then Rusty's like, nah, fucking poker, you're joking, aren't you? It's a mugs game. I was like, what do you mean a mugs game? I mean, we don't have to put money on it, it's just for a laugh. Started suggesting all these other card games that we could possibly play. Even like Snap. That's how many options we ran out of. And eventually he was like, I'm bored, I'm sick of it. I want a new card game, a new game. We were like, well, we don't know it, we only know the classics. So he was like, why don't we make a game? Why don't we create our own card game? Right now. There's enough of us here. We've all got a mind each, we can make something really good. The most enjoyable, fun card game anyone could ever think of. We're like, alright, well, yeah, fuck it, let's give it a go. So we're there like, so what are we gonna, what, is it gonna be a bit like poker or a bit like this or that? And then he was like, no, it's gonna be new, we're not gonna base it on anything. And we're like, right, okay, well, what do you seem to want this more than any of us, what do you suggest? And then he just says, the name of the game is Go Piss. And he was like, look, here's how it goes. We're going to learn it as we go, right? Make it up on the fly. So we're like, well, there has to be rules before we can play, before we say anything. He hands all of us one card each. Says, right, everyone look at your cards. So, you know, we all lift up our cards, have a look. And he goes, what card does everyone have? I was like, I've got a jack. One person, I've got a 7, a 4, a 9, all that kind of stuff. And then Billy at the end, he had a 2. And then Rusty Nuts, It's like, right, Billy's got the lowest number, so I have to piss in his mouth. We're like, what? Where did that come from? What do you mean piss in his mouth? And he was like, that's the rules. That's the rules of Go Piss. I was like, you're saying it as if this is an established game or a sport. No one's heard of this. We're making this up on the fly. He was like, look, what we want is a good game, right? An original game. So look, Billy drew the short straw. So who's got the highest card? And then he looks at his, he's like, well, and then Rusty goes, well, look, I've got a king, so that means I get to piss in someone's mouth. I get to piss in Billy's mouth. And I was like, I don't know about this. Let's just play poker, please. Let's just play a game of poker. And then all of a sudden, Billy goes, no, it's all right. It's a game. Go on. Like, what? Billy, what are you talking about, mate? He's a bully. Don't let him piss in your mouth, mate. He was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. We're trying to talk him out of it. Rusty goes, the boy knows what he's saying. He's made his mind up. So then Rusty pulls down his zip, gets his knob out, and I swear to God, Billy opens his mouth. Like I was saying about earlier, how all of a sudden, few too many drinks I had and the fun stops. That was the fucking point. When we're all sat there, jaws on the floor, looking at one of our mates pissing into another mate's mouth. There he is, pissing into Billy's mouth. Poor young Billy. He only did it so he could be like a part of the gang. He finishes. Whoops. And Billy's about to swallow the piss. But then Rusty goes, no. This is part of the game. And we're like, what the hell are you talking about, part of the game? And he goes, he can't swallow it. He can't swallow that piss. He has to keep it in his mouth. We were like, this is torture now. It's gone beyond being a game. And then Rusty goes, no, you see, it's still a game because he's in with a chance of winning. We're like, what? Winning? The man's got a mouthful of warm piss. He goes, look, if he picks up an ace, right? If his next card is an ace, or the card after that is an ace, he gets to put the piss into someone else's mouth. And we're like, hang on a bit. So if he gets an ace, he then has to transport, via kissing, I presume, the piss from his mouth into whoever has the lowest card next. And then Rusty goes, exactly. That is exactly right. If he gets an ace, he gets to spit the piss back into someone else's mouth. And we were like, well, what if he doesn't pick up an ace for the entire game? And then Rusty goes, well, he's going to have to sit there in silence, isn't he? With a mouthful of piss. Playing the game. Billy, thankfully, picks up an ace. Then we look. Rusty has the lowest number. He has a 2. And he goes, well, lads, looks like Billy has to put the piss back in my mouth. We only went out for a few drinks. You know what I mean? Billy goes over to Rusty. And Rusty goes, oh, wait, hold on. What suit card was it? Billy obviously can't talk because he's got a mouthful of piss. So we look at his card and he said, oh, it was a Ace of Hearts. And he said, oh, Ace of Hearts. Because it's a heart card, that means we have to lock lips for 2 minutes and use our tongues. And we were like, says who? This game doesn't exist. We could say that's not a rule now and be done with it. In fact, I'd like to be done with the fucking game. He was like, look, you guys are so unoriginal. You couldn't think of any original ideas, and I'm coming up with something off the fly. We were like, yeah, literally off the fly, unzipping them and pissing in someone's mouth. And he was like, look, this is my game, alright? My rules. And I'm telling you, in my rule book, if it's a heart, then we've got to lock lips for a minute. But Billy, I guess Billy didn't want the piss in his mouth anymore, so he went over, French kissing Rusty for a minute, then spat the piss back in Rusty's mouth. Poor old Billy, I could see in his eyes he was disturbed. Then Rusty, he's got a mouthful of piss, and he swallows it. Then straight away we're like, hey, you just swallowed it. I thought the rules was you meant to keep it in your mouth. And he goes, you know what, you're right. I should have kept it in my mouth. He was like, see, you're learning. We were like, oh, we're learning, all right. We're learning a fucking lot about you tonight, mate. So then he goes, well, you know what that means, don't you? And we were like, no, we don't know what that means. Please enlighten us. And he was like, well, because I swallowed the piss, that means, and then he looks over and says like, hang on, pick a card from the top deck. So I go, alright, fine. Pick up a card, it's 7 of clubs. And he goes, right, 7 of clubs. That means I have to strip naked and all of you guys have to piss on me while I'm lying on the floor. In what way does a 7 of clubs mean that we have to piss on you while you're completely naked? He was like, look, do you want to play or not? And we were like, no. No, we don't. We don't want to play. We've had enough. We all stand up, ready to leave. All of a sudden, right, he moves over to the door. Suddenly he's got one of the fucking katana swords in his hand. He bolts the door. He says, look, we started this game, we're going to finish this game. One of the lads said, are you taking the piss? Poor choice of words given the situation of the evening. Rusty goes, no, I'm not the one taking the piss. You lads are going to be the ones taking the piss. On me. And we were like, and if we piss on you, that's the end of the game, isn't it? You're not going to pull someone else out of the bag. And he goes, I promise, that is the end of the game. When the chips are down and I'm soaked in piss, that's the end of the game. We're like, alright, fine. So he strips off. We all crowd around him. And I get our knobs out and start pissing on him. It took a while. It did take a while, because I get a bit nervous when there's other people around, so I can't go straight away. So you basically got like 6 men all stood around a naked body, all whistling, looking at the ceiling, going, like that, trying to cough it out. Eventually we all managed to piss. While we're pissing on him, he's going, yes, yes. We all look at each other, it's like, are you enjoying this? He was like, it's part of the rules that I have to say yes when you do this. So we piss on him. And we're like, right, okay, that's it. Game's over, so's the night. You know what I mean? It was only 10 o'clock at night as well. It's not like the end of the night. We were prepared to be staying there until about 1. But he fucking ruined it with his piss games. So we were like, see you later, mate. Much later. We all left. We all got taxis back. I say taxis. We all drunk drove home. So then next week, on Monday, we're all heading into main office, ready to get our trucks and then kind of set off. When we get called in to the manager's office, I'm like, what's all this about? We go in the manager's office. There's the manager, stood in front of the desk. It's Rusty Nuts. manager was like, so, you lads have a good weekend? He knew. It was clear to us straight away, he knew what was going on. It was like, not particularly, no, if I'm honest. Thanks to him. And we were like, what did he say? What did Rusty say to you, sir? It was like, it wasn't about what Rusty said. It's about what we found out. I'm like, what do you mean? He turns his computer screen around, shows us this video, right, of all of us lads pissing on Rusty, and him going, yes, yes. We like, oh my, the dirty bastard was filming it the whole time. And then the boss turned his computer back around again. He's like, you guys have slipped up. Someone found this on Twitter, right? This video, found out where it originated from, found the video on pisslovers.com. I was like, I've never in my life been on pisslovers.com. Manager was like, oh yeah, well, what do you call this, eh? Why are you literally on pisslovers.com? I was like, it's him. He tricked us into doing it. He said he was making up a card game. He was making up a card game, and he said the rules were that we had to like piss in each other's mouths and piss on each other and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, fuck me. So either you guys are perverts, or you guys are fucking simpler than I gave you fucking credit for. He was like, the amount of red tape with this, covering this up is not going to be easy. He's like, it's always something with you lads, isn't it? Right? We're always having to cover up some kind of dark, seedy past or something like that. And now look what I have to fucking deal with. 7 of my best on pisslovers.com. Unbelievable. The fact that we weren't fired then and there on the spot. It's a fucking miracle. We left the boss's office. Billy nudges me on the shoulder. And he goes, I don't think Rusty was doing that to make up a card game, you know. No, you think?